Imagine waking up one morning and seeing a headline that says Social Security recipients to get a $2,400 raise, Trump's new plan revealed. Sounds like one of those too good to be true news alerts, right? But this time, it's real. And it's causing a political earthquake. What's behind this new plan? Who gets it? And could it actually change your monthly check? Stick with me, because what you're about to hear might change the way you think about retirement, politics, and your own financial future. Let's get into it. So, here's the deal. President Donald Trump has once again thrown a curveball into the political arena. After months of speculation about what his economic comeback pitch would be, he's now proposing a bold and controversial overhaul of the Social Security system, one that, if passed, would put an extra $2,400 per year into the pockets of millions of Americans on SSI, SSDI, and SSA benefits. That's right, $2,400. Not a one-time check, not a tax rebate, an annual raise. Now, before we dive into how that's supposed to happen, let's rewind for a second. Social Security has been one of the most talked about and politically sensitive issues in America. For decades, politicians have promised to protect it, reform it, or modernize it. But let's be honest. Most of those promises turned into campaign talking points that vanished the second the election ended. Meanwhile, seniors and disabled Americans have been stuck watching their buying power shrink every year while costs of living explode. Food, rent, gas, medicine, everything's gone up. But Social Security checks? Not nearly enough. Even with cost of living adjustments or COLAs, the real value of those payments has dropped. So when Trump's team started floating this $2,400 raise idea, people didn't just notice, they listened. So what exactly is this new plan, and how is it supposed to work? According to sources close to Trump's 2025 campaign outline, the plan would aim to adjust the Social Security formula, not by cutting benefits or raising retirement age, but by introducing what they're calling a middle-income security boost. In short, it's a targeted raise for those most affected by inflation. The proposal suggests a flat increase of $200 a month for qualifying recipients, including retirees, SSI, and SSDI beneficiaries. Over a year, that adds up to $2,400 more in your pocket. Now, before you start planning that vacation, there's more to unpack. Because as with every big promise, there's a catch, and in this case, it's all about funding. Trump's team claims this raise would be paid for by redirecting portions of federal spending, specifically through what they're calling a reallocation reform. Essentially, the idea is to take wasteful government spending, especially from overseas aid and redundant administrative programs, and reroute that money into Social Security. Sounds straightforward, right? But the reality, as experts are pointing out, is a lot more complicated. Critics argue that the Social Security Trust Fund is already facing serious long-term issues. Current projections say that, by the mid-2030s, the program might not be able to pay full benefits unless something changes. So, adding new payouts without a clear source of new income could actually speed up that problem. Economists are asking, can you really increase benefits without raising taxes or adding to the deficit? But here's where things get interesting. Trump's camp says they've found a workaround, and this is where the America First funding framework comes in. It's a proposed model that shifts federal budget priorities toward domestic needs first, with Social Security as a top priority. The argument? Instead of spending billions abroad or on what Trump calls deep state bureaucracies, the money should go straight into the hands of Americans who built the country. And that's the heart of the message that's resonating with a lot of people, especially older voters. Because let's face it, millions of retirees and disabled Americans are struggling to make ends meet. They're not living lavish lives. They're choosing between medicine and groceries. So when someone says, we're going to give you $200 more each month, it's not just politics, it's survival. Now, let's talk about what this could mean if it actually happens. If Trump's plan goes through, it could mark the largest increase in Social Security benefits in modern history. We're talking about a permanent, structured raise that would be felt by roughly 70 million people. For someone on a fixed income, that's not just a number. That's the difference between running out of money halfway through the month and being able to breathe again. But here's where the challenge kicks in: Congress. Because even if Trump wins another term, This plan still needs congressional approval, and we all know how that goes. Democrats will want to know how it's paid for. Republicans will argue over fiscal responsibility. Some will support it, others will say it's unsustainable. It'll be a political tug of war, and in the middle of that fight are real Americans waiting for real help. Let's not forget, Trump has a complicated history with Social Security. During his first term, he promised to protect it, and to his credit, there were no cuts. But he also floated the idea of payroll tax holidays, which critics said could undermine the system's funding. This time, though, his tone seems different. It's less about reforming the structure and more about boosting the payout directly. His message is simple. You paid into the system. You deserve more back. And that's a powerful sentiment. Now, here's something that's really got people talking. How this plan compares to the Democrats' proposals. Earlier this year, progressive lawmakers revived their own version of a Social Security expansion bill, which also proposed a $2,400 annual increase funded by higher taxes on wealthy earners. Sound familiar? It should, because Trump's plan mirrors that number but flips the funding mechanism. Instead of raising taxes, he's talking about cutting spending elsewhere. So now the big question is, whose plan will actually make it to the finish line? Let's be honest, there's also a strategic layer to this. Trump knows seniors are one of the most loyal voting blocs in America. In 2020, older voters played a huge role in his numbers. A plan like this isn't just economic policy, it's political chess. It's about winning hearts and votes, one check at a time. But whether you like him or not, this move has reignited the Social Security debate nationwide. You've got advocacy groups demanding details, financial analysts crunching the math, and everyday Americans wondering, is this finally happening? Or is it just another election year promise? Let's break it down with some examples. Take Mary, 68 years old, living on a $1,450 monthly check after 40 years of work. Inflation's eaten away her grocery budget, her rent's up, and she's relying on food banks just to get by. Now imagine an extra $200 every month. For her, that's not a luxury. That's the difference between having heat in the winter and skipping meals. Multiply Mary's story by millions, and you see why this plan matters. Then there's James, a disabled veteran on SSDI. He's been struggling with medical bills and limited income. The same $200 a month could help cover transportation or a therapy session he's been putting off. These are the human faces behind the headlines. But here's where we hit the challenge part. Implementation. Even if this plan becomes policy, the Social Security Administration would have to recalculate benefits, adjust systems, and ensure the money actually reaches recipients. That could take months, maybe longer. And if Congress delays, we might see this stretch into 2026 or beyond. So while the promise is real, the timeline is uncertain. And that's where the climax of this story really hits. America is standing at a crossroads. One path continues the status quo, small COLA bumps that never quite keep up with inflation. The other promises a bold raise that could reshape retirement for millions. But will the numbers add up? Or will politics get in the way? Again? Economists warn that unless new revenue streams are created, such as adjusting the payroll tax cap or finding alternate funding sources, the Social Security Trust Fund could be in jeopardy by 2033. But Trump's supporters argue that with smarter budgeting and prioritizing American citizens first, the system can sustain itself. It's a classic American debate. Do we tax more or spend smarter? Either way, this announcement has already achieved something massive. It's put Social Security back in the center of national attention. And it's got people talking about solutions instead of just problems. Whether you're on SSI, SSDI, or just planning your retirement, this topic affects you directly, because sooner or later the future of Social Security will decide how you live out your later years. Now here's the takeaway. Whether or not Trump's plan becomes law, one thing's clear. The fight for better Social Security benefits is heating up. Politicians are realizing that this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about dignity, fairness, and keeping promises to the people who built the country. So, as we watch how this story unfolds, remember this. The debate over that $2,400 raise isn't just about money. It's about respect. It's about saying to every senior, every disabled worker, and every retiree, we see you, we value you, and you deserve better. If this plan goes through, it could mark a turning point in how America takes care of its own. And if it doesn't, well, it's going to force the next generation of leaders to finally take Social Security seriously. Because one thing's for sure, Americans are tired of waiting. And if you've made it this far, here's your call to action. Don't miss the next video on your screen, where we break down exactly how this $2,400 plan compares to the Democrats' version and what it means for your next Social Security check. You'll want to see this.